Welcome to Things That Go Bump. My name is Emily and I'm your friendly neighborhood librarian. This website is a Pathfinder for the horror genre, discussing its origins, providing suggested titles for different reading levels, introducing the Bram Stoker Awards, and compiling further resources in print, article, and online format. You'll be able to find titles that you might read for your book report, information about authors you might want to do your reports on, and more information to kickstart your research into horror. This first page offers a broad strokes introduction to the horror genre, outlining its very early history and method. It also opens the door on the versatility of the genre and introduces the names of a few of its subgenres. Here, we also scratch the surface as to why the horror genre is an important subject, and how stories about monsters aren't just stories about monsters sometimes, but commentaries on the world and metaphors for subjects that might be hard to approach otherwise. Below here are 4 sub-pages you will be exploring: a timeline of horror classics, award-winning scary, fear for all ages, and on the topic of terror. Links on these subsequent pages will take you to Goodreads, which will give you more information about the titles or authors in question. Like the name suggests, a timeline of the classics takes you through the early days of the genre. Horror literature got its start as epic literature, epic fiction, and during the era of Romanticism we see more popular titles that we know today, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or authors like Edgar Allan Poe. The genre became more popular, cheap production of popular books like Penny Dreadfuls became very popular. With the golden age of radio, new books started to wane, but some of those stories were revamped and used for radio programs like The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Horror was also adapted for film in the early days and is still a popular thing to do nowadays. And as you can see, there's a broad, rich, and diverse history that horror from today pulls on. Award-winning Scary introduces the Bram Stoker Awards, one of the most prestigious accolades awarded to writers in the horror genre. These awards are given out by the Horror Writers Association, and they've been doing it since 1987. Named for the author of the horror classic Dracula, Stoker Award winners receive this awesome bronze haunted house statue and high acclaim. Awards are given out for achievements in novels, first novels, young adult novels, graphic novels, long fiction, short fiction, screenplays, anthologies, fiction collections, nonfiction, and poetry collections. And on this page we have a list of the 2014 Stoker Award winners that you might consider for use in your book reports. For All Ages branches into 3 sub-pages in regards to juvenile readers, young adult readers, and adult readers. Because the audience is much younger, horror in children's books is normally less upsetting, and the themes are usually very minimal. They play more toward uneasiness, uncertainty, or to the gross-out factor. The page has 9 suggested titles, among them The Teacher from the Black Lagoon, Caroline, and the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. Any one of these would be great for use in an analysis of literature for children with the horror genre in mind. With young adults, there are some inherent themes that the age range gravitates to, and there are many great examples of young adult books that function both as a horror story and also as a coming-of-age story, like Blood and Chocolate and I Kissed a Ghoul. There are also a number of series that can be used in this, and for young adult readers, horror anthologies and short story collections also become very popular. With adult horror novels, it's very broad and diverse. Their factors can go from the moderately unsettling to the most extreme of splatterpunk gore fests. It's also very common to see authors looking back to their literary forebearers, and you can see this in the anthologies that are suggested here. All of these have good examples of adaptations or homages to different literary themes. Lovecraft's Monsters works very well. The H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu mythos. The Vampire Archives have both contemporary and more historic examples of vampire fiction. And the weird is a collection of stories from the weird fiction genre, which is a mashup of fantasy, science fiction, and horror. Graphic novels are also widely popular with adult readers of horror, and there are 3 fantastic examples here for your use. Finally, on the topic of terror, a series of books, articles, and web resources to help you research and come up with your topic. The books that are listed here are companion guides. They offer book lists and historical insight into the authors and eras in which individual titles were written. The articles over here, the Botting article talks about the transition from horror literary ancestry and the decline of the more traditional Gothic storytelling devices in modern literature. Last Defense Against the Dark is an examination of H.P. Lovecraft with more information about his life and how it affected his works. Supernatural Horror in English Literature is a fascinating article written by Russian academics, observing the Western horror tradition and offering a fascinating perspective outsiders in the genre. Down below here, in the online resources, we have a link to the Horror Writers Association page with their definition of what is horror. Tabula Rasa page, there's a very well laid out and comprehensive 3-page timeline of innovators in the horror genre for literature, film, radio, and more. HorrorNovels.com has an extensive list of subgenres for horror and provides even more great book suggestions. The Thinking Reader's Guide to Fear is a great piece discussing the attraction to and reaction of reading horror, which all too often is considered a bit of a joke by serious readers. So this has been Emily, your friendly neighborhood librarian with Things That Go Bump. If you have any questions or need any further direction, I'll be in the library. Thanks, and best of luck.